Well, hello to you. It felt time for a little chatty ramble, aka Chamble. Hang on. I'm so sorry. I just had a very large glass of water and that was its repercussion. Delightful. So for this Chamble, I wondered whether one of my favourite cats I could get away with the side. I don't think I can. I mean, what am I? A rapper in the 90s. Maybe I could try the backwards. Oh no, that's not worked, has it? That's gone a bit Some Others Do Have 'Em, if anyone remembers that reference. Slightly Tommy Cooper with the fez look, very old references for any youngsters watching. Hopefully most of you are also perimenopausal. I'm going for the straight cap for this. Very dull hat wear for this Chamble. I'll up my game for the next one. I've got a very small head, by the way. Showbiz exclusive. For a large lady, very small head. There you go. So listen, I had a thought. This is what I've been thinking for a couple of weeks actually. I just spat a bit there. What do I love about lockdown? Which might sound a bit controversial, or as some people say, controversial, which I think is a controversial way to say controversial. I'm not saying controversial is right and controversial is wrong, but I'm not a fan of controversial. I suppose it's similar to issue and issue, tissue and tissue. I'm a tissue person. I have issues with issues. Anyway, don't comment below which you think is right and which you use. It'd be very hard to get that out and type anyway. I don't want a whole mass of DMs saying, it's issue. No, I don't think it is. I take issue with issue. Talking of DMs, I have yet to have the time or energy or inclination, frankly. No, I do have the inclination, the time or energy to look through, because some people have commented and said they've written me potential jingles for the Chambles or chingles. I did listen to one that sounded more suitable for a horror movie, which really made me laugh. So I then got put off by the search, but I will have a look, and then next Chamble we can audition some chingles. That'll be fun, won't it? So yes, loving the lockdown could be controversial, not controversial. And in talking about what I love about the lockdown, what I'm really doing is talking about what I personally need in place in my life to live in my resources and to live well and to live happily. And I think for most people too, I think it's, you know, we're all human beings and we all have the same biological inherent needs to live well and for holistic well-being. And then within those, they vary based on our personality, culture, etc. So it's felt like a really positive thing to do. Go, what do I love about lockdown? To take with me in my future life post-lockdown, are there some things that I'm still been doing in normal, this thing called normal life that we're referring to, that I don't want to after lockdown, that lockdown can teach me. So instead of going, what do I hate about lockdown? And focusing on the suffering, I'm thinking, what can I love about lockdown and take with me to the future? But I'm also aware that it sounds very privileged to be able to have time on my own. My job isn't affected by COVID-19. My house is safe. I haven't been struck down with illness, and my family are well. So it's a strange place, isn't it? Because for those of us who might be in a similar position of being in a home that doesn't feel too uncomfortable in lockdown, whose jobs aren't affected, who've continued to be well. We sit with that and how we can do lockdown whilst there is an extraordinary amount of suffering. And I think it does impact us all, but I am aware, as I say, of the privilege of being able to think about the kind of therapeutic benefits to lockdown, and I just want you to know that I'm really holding the very serious suffering that is going on in the world at the moment. It's strange, isn't it? Because there are key workers out there who are exhausted, brave, putting themselves at danger, working so hard. There are people in hospital, people really ill. There are people not in hospital who are dealing with the virus on their own or other illnesses. There are people dealing with deaths in the family. There is poverty and economic downturn affecting many people. So there's that happening. And then I wonder if possibly the majority of us, and then there's people who are really uncomfortable in lockdown because of their circumstances, but the majority of us are actually, definitely having to dig deep and dig into an unusual situation to do the right thing, to stay home, to stay distance, to stop the spread of the pandemic and do the right thing for the wider community. But that actually it doesn't affect us massively, and we're able to think about it and frame it in a different way. And I think it's really important not to feel guilty about that. And because we all have relative challenges, and it's not our fault that we were born into a comfortable situation or have had success and finances aren't affected, or whatever position you're in that you might feel guilty about, or have a healthy family, or whatever it is. But I think this applies to everybody, and hello to any key workers out there. I just think you're incredible. Today I had my COVID angels in the form of 2 supermarket workers who really did help me when I really needed it, being on my own and in this lockdown situation, and I'm so grateful to them. So there are so many people out there, just cap off, cap at the side for you. Shows a little bit of disrespect. Oh my God, I've chambled on for nearly 8 minutes and I haven't even got to my point. So listen, I actually not prepared as such. I'm not at all prepared. That's what the chamble's about. Zero preparazione, which is Italian for preparation. I don't think it is, by the way. Oh, and having said, I've prepared something in my new, not an advert, but new pucker pad for fellow lovers of stationery with, already tabbed, already got a tabbing system, just thrilled. I love a notepad. So, in one of the, here we are. Bear with. I thought I was getting better at the chambles. I thought I was getting a little bit more articulate, a little quicker, but no, it's not happening. And I'm now suddenly self-editing, really concerned of what I said about sounding like I'm in utmost comfort and luxury, because, that's what, this is a whole other chamble, isn't it? What fame, the protection of fame it puts on people, but life is difficult for everybody. And I really am not undermining the suffering that's out there and the people who are really struggling in so many ways. I'm really not. However, I wrote a list today of why I love lockdown and what I want to take forward from lockdown. I do think, I will get to the point in a minute, by 5-6 hours I'll get to the point, but I do think when there is suffering nationally and globally and we all come together through it and with it and because of it, there are people who lose their lives or their livelihood and go through a lot to help it and solve it. and some lose their lives. And I think they would say we are honouring them by making some changes in our life. You know, I don't think, yes, it feels privileged to be able to get still, meditate, spend some time seeing what comes from this, but I also think what a great way to honour those who've lost their life because of this. It's better than just going back and not making any changes, feeling guilty about not being in too much distress during lockdown. It's better than any of the alternatives. It's better than worrying about the future. It's better than not helping. It's better than, I mean, that's the main thing we can do is help in whatever way we can. But yeah, so I don't think it's disrespectful in any way. I think it's the right thing to do. Why I love lockdown. So the first thing I wrote down was FOMO. So I don't normally have FOMO in terms of peer pressure. I know FOMO, by the way, for the older viewers, fear of missing out, dears. FOMO, fear of missing out. I'm shouting at you as if you're sort of 90. I'd love it if there was a 90-year-old watching. Yes, fear of missing out. So that often something that happens more in the 20s and 30s, certainly 20s and school days. Worry that everybody else is at some perfect party or on some perfect holiday and you're missing out and you're not there. Dreadful peer pressure. And I'm loving the fact that there is no FOMO. I suffer, I think, sometimes from a sense of disappointment that the day is not quite good enough, or have I missed out on something? Have I not done something that I could have done, or being disappointed that I've been too tired or not have the energy to do something, or again, we'll always mention the chronically ill who are always missing out on something. Because they're often bedbound or housebound with their conditions. No FOMO. So to take that post-lockdown, I'm just going to be much more accepting of where I'm at, if I'm too tired, if I'm ill, if I don't want to go, if it's not right for me to go, if it's not sensible for me to go, then I'm going to be much more accepting and surrendering of that and know that I'm not missing out. I'm doing the right thing for me and I'm not going anywhere unfaithfully. Parker J. Palmer talks about that. He says, if you go somewhere faithfully, i.e. all that thing of when people go to a party and say, I don't really want to go to the party, but I feel I should. I'll just tip up for half an hour. No, if you were coming to my party and you were just like, didn't really want to be there and tipping up for half an hour, I'd tell you to F off. Sorry, yes I do swear. But you know, don't go anywhere unfaithfully, that's just rude. There's some times where we have to go to things for duty and it's the right thing to do, to sacrifice. I'm all about that. But we have to learn to live within our energetic resources and meet our needs, and also follow who we are and what sort of events and things we like to do. I do not like big parties. I do not like posh drinks parties. I do not like massive nightclubs. I would prefer a dance in someone's kitchen with 4 friends. So it's just understanding, okay, what is FOMO and what is really me? You know, what do I love to do? So I love the fact that there's sort of absolutely no pressure. I love the fact there's no invites going around to have to say no to. I've been very old and wise now and have gone through much research for this hallowed book I keep talking about over the last 5 years, to research all therapeutic approaches to holistic well-being, and have been able to apply a lot of it to myself and work through things and learn and understand what I need to put in place to be the best version of me. And saying no is one of them. It's something we all need to needed to learn to do, and it is so freeing, and it feels very honourable and right, and in one's integrity. No, it does feel very, very much like, yeah, the right thing to do, to say no when you mean it. And it's quite nice to have a break from not negotiating how to say no, and not sometimes dealing with disappointment or guilt around that. Not having to say no, just looking at my scribblings. I hate chit chat. I hate small talk. No interest in it whatsoever. That's why I don't like a drinks party or a big event. Hi, how are you? What do you do? But fuck off. Sweary today on this Chamble. But no, it just doesn't suit my personality. I either like to be silly and bonkers or go deep. And I like the fact that now people are listening more and they're actually asking, how are you feeling about this? Or what do you think about this? And that really, I really like that. And so I'm aware that post-lockdown, I'm going to make sure I'm surrounded by people that really give me the right energy and don't drain me. And yeah, and I'm with the right friends. I'm faithfully with friends. I like the fact that meetings don't need to be face-to-face. There's a lot of time wasted in this life on two things work-wise. Arranging meetings and emails. And now it's so much easier just to quickly get onto FaceTime instead of emailing lots and typing for hours to explain things. And we can do meetings post-lockdown in our pyjamas, in our beds, via Zoom or other things that are available, but probably it's always going to be Zoom. We don't have to rush about. I'm talking about London life. We don't need to sit on a tube for an hour to go meet somebody in person. We can do it by Zoom. Much simpler life. I love that. I love boundaries. I love social distancing. Because it creates, by the way, that's not my dog barking. My dog is here. Always by my side. So you get a bit mad, don't you, when you wave to camera with your dog, but she's my COVID companion. So yeah, I don't know whose dog that is. Rude. Please shush. I'm being very, very wise and interesting right now. Boundaries. Social distancing. The reason I love social distancing is because shush. Boundary. If you can't hear that dog, you'll just think I'm created an imaginary person. Shush, please, imaginary friends. And I would say there's nothing wrong with that at this time. Yes, back to boundaries. So I actually really love the 6 feet distance because this is again something else for another Chamble. But I recently discovered I'm something called an HSP, a highly sensitive person. It's not a condition, it's not a problem, it's not an issue. Apparently 1 in 5 people are born with it, are HSPs, highly sensitive people. So just have a slightly heightened nervous system, not an anxiety disorder, not anxiety, again, it's not an illness or a condition, it's just part of our nature. But it means like loud noises, fireworks would be too much, too soon, big gigs would be too much, or going out every night of the week and working would be too much. Real empaths taking on people's energies. There's lots to think about HSP. If you think you are one, then find out, because boy, it changes your life when you manage it and you understand why you're getting so tired and getting so overstimulated and overwrought and upset by the world suffering. There's a brilliant book by Elaine Aron, A-R-O-N, called Highly Sensitive People. I believe she called the term. And there's a great therapist called the HSP psychologist, I think, on Instagram. Anyway, maybe more on that another time. Oh, gosh, it's getting to 20 minutes. Anyone still listening? Hello. So boundaries for HSPs, for me, and generally I think for a lot of people, are great. So I love the fact I don't have to negotiate the shake hand, 1 kiss, 2 kiss. I'm so grateful that the lovers of the hug, the immediate on meeting hug, can't get near me. Honestly, my nervous system just settles and I feel like I can breathe having a conversation far away. Also, it means that selfies have to be at a distance, and that is great. Love people. I'm so grateful for people who like my work. But as an HSP, suddenly having someone scream in your face and be here with a camera, it's a bit overwhelming. I love the fact that there's community spirit, that we are all together for a wider and higher purpose, that work and productivity is a secondary thing to loving, caring, giving, asking people how they are, that we are coming more together. I love the NHS clap. We should do that post-lockdown. We should do claps for lots of different things regularly and sort of come together. I know there are sort of world days for loads of different things, and we should do claps. I love that. So I want to take that sense of loving and giving post-lockdown, and I really believe we need to get back to a more community-centred way of living rather than this individualistic, self-focused, ego-driven, capitalist nonsense. For the 90-year-old watching, that's called a mic drop, and it just means you think you've made a marvellous point. if you still are watching, dear. What else do I look at? Looking out for my keyboard. Looking out beyond myself. No parties, no chit chat. Life isn't about work. United in the common purpose. More interested in people are feeling. I've said that. I love the fact that people are available. I love the fact you can just try somebody on FaceTime, and if they're not there, fine. But that people are around. I love the fact that people listen more. So I'm really going to make sure post-lockdown that I've got 3 or 4 key friends who I know make me feel really safe and that will really listen and understand. People are now have the time and the understanding to empathise. They understand what empathy is and how important it is, or sympathy, or just listening, just really listening. Love this about lockdown. I love the fact that everyone understands, or it's not just lockdown, but the crisis really. Everyone understands if you have a bad day or feeling vulnerable, need to postpone a meeting or something like that. Because yes, of course. Well, that should be always. That should be always. We're not vulnerable or struggling just for the crack. You know, we don't want to postpone because we really want to postpone, because we would have learnt to say no. So we're there faithfully, but sometimes days are difficult, and we should be allowed to do that. People need to be more understanding. Wear what you want without judgment. Love that. You know, people are freely in their pajamas all day, and people are going grey. I've never dyed my hair, but I'm noticing a few grey hairs. 47, 48 this year, golly. But you know, there's a sense that appearance isn't as important. We can just be a bit freer. I know some people really love this sort of grooming regime. You might be surprised to hear I'm not one of them. I'm very clean, but I'm not a fashion, because I need to tell you this. I'm not a fashion expert or in the fashion industry, just in case you thought I was, with my £10 Casio watch. I think £7.99. Thrilled with it. Again, not an advert. I love what it's doing for the environment. I love the fact that the skies are quieter, although I am grateful for jet engine travel, but I just feel like the world, hopefully, and I hope to take responsibility for this, will not consider air travel unless it's really necessary, unless it feels like a really right and good thing to do for a purpose. I love the fact that the animals are getting some space away from trophy hunters. Well, I don't know if they are from trophy hunters, but you know, our interference with the natural world. That's got to be taken on. That's got to be taken on post lockdown. I love the fact that people are more understanding of introverts, of which I am, and lots of HSPs are introverts. That we need space on our own, we need to work on our own, we need to work at our own pace. And people seem more understanding of that and like, yeah, of course, take some time to yourself. Of course, you need some alone time to process things, whatever. That should always be the case. Learning to, I think this is a really key lesson, which I've been working on for years and feel pretty zen-like about it, actually. Why did I suddenly speak like that? You know, zen. Learning to live with no idea of the future, with total lack of control. The fact that uncertainty is just so difficult on the human mind and the ego, and it's the greatest life lesson we can learn is to surrender into the present moment and take a day at a time. Yes, we can plan. Yes, we can dream. Yes, there is always hope. But we only ever are in control of the present moment. We're just, and control, as Liz Gilbert said so eloquently on her TED conversation recently, when you thought you were in control, you were actually only operating from anxiety. It was just, being in control is anxious behaviour. So just to surrender that just feels so great. I'm resting between working a lot more. I'm noticing when I'm tired, probably because we're all overstimulated, we're all stressed in our various ways by the situation. There's a lot of news coming at us, a lot of information, a lot of uncertainty, and so we're probably a little bit more stressed than normal. But to be in touch with that and allow that, and to have naps and to have breaks, definitely should be continued after lockdown. I'm more productive because of it. Time is precious. Oh, I think this is my longest chamble yet, pushing it 30 minutes. I'm going to get to 30 minutes. Because that'll be hard, Miranda, I hear you say, as I chatty ramble away. Yes, what was the last one? Time is precious. You know, with people on the front line putting their lives at risk and having lost many people in that situation at the moment and lost people to the virus, you realise that this came from nowhere. You know, a few months ago, if someone said COVID-19, lockdown, social distancing, wash your hands, you'd be like, what on earth are you talking about? Well, we all washed our hands, but you know, as frantically in 2,000 times a day as we are now. If you saw loads of people in the street with masks and plastic gloves, you just think, what is happening? And it forces you to realise time is precious. Back to, we only have this moment. So, I'm on 28 minutes and 30 seconds, and I'm actually running out of things to say now. And I wanted to get to 30 minutes. I think it's important to hold up Peggy again, who's 13 in June. Really running out of things to say. There was something I was going to say about the Chamble. Oh, HSPs, yeah, do more on that. Particularly quickly, I've got a minute left. Particularly for young people watching and still watching. Good on you. Hi, love you. I just wish I knew that I was an introvert and what that meant. And I wish I knew that I was an HSP when I was younger, because it would have saved me so much. Peggy's scratching, so much confusion, and it's so important to know who you are and how to manage yourself and your energy and how you tick, you know, so you can be the best version of you. So there's a book called Quiet by Susan Cain, Kain. It's absolutely brilliant. And if there are any extroverts who live with introverts, then read that, you'll understand it. Look up the HSP book I mentioned earlier. And Susan Cain did a TED talk on being an introvert as well, if you prefer that to read. It's 29, 3, 2, 1, half an hour. Bye.